here we are again, Monday night, another Monday night. I've got to wake myself up. I've got to get ready for this one. We have two absolute dead set legends on tonight. We have Mr. Matthew Langford himself and Mitchell Cone. They are Team Jack Off, Team Jack Links, and they're going to talk all things AFC tonight. I have lots to cover, but what I want to cover before the guys actually come on, there's a fair bit going on behind the scenes and a fair bit of banter after our little preview on who cut who off and who's done this and who's done that. Well, it doesn't really matter. We're going to find out the truth tonight. We don't know the actual results of the thing. You have to wait until next week, so we've still got to do that. And look, just make sure that you put your postcode in, and we're going to draw that one early because we've found that the postcodes are actually clogging up our feed for the good questions later on in the show. So let's not dilly-dally around. Get your postcodes in there. We're going to give them away really, really quick. We are going to give away a Team Jack Link signed jersey from Mitch and Matt, so that'll take us a couple of weeks to organise. It is only a small, so it's not really for wearing unless you're a kid or maybe a teenager, but it would look really good in a photo frame up on somebody's wall. So looking forward to getting that out to a lucky winner tonight. Listen, it's let's just get them on. Let's see what they have to say. So let's make sure that everything's working here. G'day, gentlemen. How are we?
Good evening.
Good, yourself?
Good. We've just announced that we're going to give away the postcode prize early so we can really delve into some of these questions, and the postcodes are coming in from everywhere. We've got Shepparton's, Lake Macquarie's, Alexandra Hills, Kingaroy's, of course, from up that way. We've got Golden Squares in Victoria, Red Banks. We've got Gowrie Junction. There's people from all over Australia watching this. This is really cool. So really looking forward to it. For those guys that do follow me on Facebook and YouTube, hopefully next week I'll have a crack at the first Fishing with the Cap, and we're going to go up to Dartmouth. So I'm hitting Mark Cook, my marine mechanic from Lee Martin Marine. We're going to go up there and do a bit of the filming, and hopefully we can catch a few trout. So that'll be something different. I am really looking forward to what's coming up. Obviously on Friday night this week we're going to get the ABT dates announced, so that'll be really cool. We've got entry forms coming in from all the comps for next year, so don't forget, I'm going to give a shout out to the Lake Walla Native Classic. It's held on in April, the end of April, start of May next year, so don't forget to get on to Lake Mowalla Native Classic. That's a 30 grand prize pool if they get the 60 boats. Invitational only, but if you have got invitations, don't forget them out there. We also have the Freshwater Masters as well. So that's coming up. We've got some stuff coming in on the feed already. We've lost Mitch. We have to bring him back every now and again because obviously at work and the internet's not the greatest out there. We have the team shirts. We're still working on those. So the Corey's Dam fishing shirts will be up for sale very, very soon as well. So I think they've covered everything, guys. Welcome aboard.
Good evening.
So listen, let's get to the bottom of this drop-in scenario. Let's get it all done with first. Whose fault was it?
Liam's.
Clearly not ours.
Clearly not yours. So I did have the photo there of Langers, and I'll bring this one up here. So Langers, that one there really shows how pissed off you were, I think. So Liam has been bantering a fair bit on the old Facebook, so saying that it's not his fault, give way to the right and whatnot. But we'll sort of solve that. We don't have the result, unfortunately. You're not allowed to tell us the result, so it'd be great bragging rights if we knew who won, and then you could get into that. But obviously, we don't know that one. We've got more in from Tamworth. Great heads for radio, Lloyd Brown reckons. So we're looking forward to this. There's people on from everywhere. So I'll get rid of that ugly photo of you there, Langers. Look, I think Mitch was that pissed off from the whole deal that it actually changed his hair, and this is him at the dinner afterwards. So we couldn't couldn't let that one roll. That's I found that one way back on your Facebook somewhere there, Mitch. That's a classic.
That's going back a few years, that one.
Is that 80s disco, is it?
Yeah, that was a Westpac rescue helicopter ball back in Tamworth, back in probably, I'd reckon 2008 or somewhere like that.
Way back. So, yeah, I've got a couple of Pearl of photos that I'll go throughout the night. Here's another one from one of you guys here. Oh, no, it's not. Hang on. That's that's from a couple of weeks ago. I pressed the wrong button there.
Wrong photo. Whoops.
Sorry about that, Mick. I didn't mean that. That might be a little bit of a stitch up there, Mick. So, yeah, look, tell us about your experience, guys. We'll start with you, Mitch. AFC, what's it really like? I've dreamed of becoming, an AFC fisherman my whole fishing career, and you've got to live the dream. Tell us, give us your view on it.
Oh, it's an unreal experience just to to get to travel around, go fishing, and showcase what them regions have got to offer, like Mackay. I'd never been there until AFC, so to get to go there, discover all the nice little hidden away places that not too many people know about, but and then obviously the fishing. The fishing's just a bonus, really. The guys are spoiled for choice up there, but yeah, an unreal experience, and whoever gets the chance, you've got to take it. That's for sure.
Was that so? That was your second year. Did you feel more relaxed this year than last year? Was it a different feeling within the team this year?
Well, I guess because me and Matt fish together all the time, and we are pretty good mates. Even the first year, we were outright underdogs. Not given a chance, kind of thing. Up against a couple of locals, and the champions from the previous years. We'd never seen Youngler. We'd never fished for Barra up there if we actually did make it to the grand final. So we took it for what it was, and it was an experience for us. Don't get me wrong, we were trying as hard as we could to obviously get to lift that trophy. But yeah, being mates and just, we take it how it is. We're not too serious, Individual tournaments, you're a little bit more serious, but when you have a look at this goofy thing, putting up with him for 10 hours on a boat. How can you be serious? Christ.
Langers, what about yourself? I know you dreamed of always being on OFC. You watched the True Champions throughout the years as well, like me, and you had your crack first year. And look, from our chats, you were reasonably disappointed when you talked to me within your voice. You're a very positive person, but you're a little bit disappointed in year one. Year two, did you feel a bit more relaxed?
Oh, the second year definitely, yeah. It's like Mitch said, you're sort of growing up as a teenager. That's where I sort of got the whole love for tournament fishing, and especially having a cousin that was, Carl was fishing it for years, and I got to learn a lot just by watching the show and what he'd talk about and that sort of stuff. But then, you start following the other guys like, Dave Green and Harry Watson, Jason Ehrlich, all those guys. And then you start, you just want to be part of it. And I mean, fishing the tournaments and then being actually called up and asked to go on it, it was, it was pretty surreal to have that actually happen. But like Mitch said, we gel really well together. We sort of bounce ideas off each other, similar to how me and you fish, Corey. We get along real good and just go with the flow, and we have a good time doing it. We don't take it too seriously, but we just make sure that we're competitive, and we make sure that you've got to catch your fish, otherwise we'll probably beat you if you don't. So. It's been awesome the last couple of years, and hopefully we keep getting to do it in the future.
Oh, trust me, I was dirty. I know I can tell you I was really dirty with Mitch, and I was really dirty with you that we'd won 2 Queensland titles together, and you dumped me for the red-headed wonder from New South Wales. That I could say dirty was an understatement, but no, you guys are well worth fishing. Now, let's talk about that in general. You got the phone call. So AFC has changed over the years, and TV has changed over the years. Budgets have changed. Money's changed. People can't just throw money into fishing. We've had so many different environments and whatnot. COVID's hurt everyone. Look at Evinrude. They've shut the door on their motors. I mean, things are different, and the video is different, and how it's recorded is different. So it's not a qualifying process anymore, right? So it's about bums on seats. It's about eyeballs on TV screens, and they need people with a little bit of flair and a little bit of go, like yourselves, that'll talk to the camera and be clear in what you're saying, but actually know what you're saying as well. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, you've pretty well hit the nail on the head there. I think it's, everyone loved the old school AFC where it was, the top bass guys, the top barra guys, the top brim guys, and they all travelled around and done a big circuit. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone would still love to see that, but times have changed, money's changed. It's very sponsor orientated now, and it's the money, for the TV rights and everything to get the show on now. Like, we don't get paid. Like for everyone out there that thinks we pocket lots of money for doing it, we don't get a cent. So back in the day, they used to get paid for doing it, and that was awesome. It was a full big series, and it's everyone's dream, including mine. And I think the producers, Michael and the guys, like, they'd love to get it back to that point, but until someone opens their wallet and makes it possible,
yeah.
And as you said, it's bums on seats. We're not just trying to target the fishing industry, like just target the tournament anglers. We're trying to target like the broader reaches, for everyone, the families sitting at home of a weekend that, it might inspire them to grab a, packet of prawns and run down to the jetty of an afternoon. So bums on seats.
And that's definitely it. And I agree with that totally. It's somewhere in the vicinity of $50,000 to put a episode, half-hour episode onto the TV. So it's not small bickies, and they were big budgets that they used to get when AFC was doing those big series. And you can imagine, the money was there and whatnot, but things have tightened up. And there was a question there. I can't remember who asked it. Go into this one. Paul Langley, do you think it's lost any of the prestige without the qualification? Well, I don't think so. I actually think the viewing is now as good. I mean, they don't have the helicopters buzzing around. I can remember being out at Boondoomba watching them film one of the episodes years ago, and they had the helicopter flying around and all the rest of the stuff with it. They don't have that technology. They've got drones and stuff to do, but it does take a lot of work behind the scenes to get these things on, and then they've got to go and get the sponsorship, and the sponsorship dollars aren't there. So yes, we'd love to see it go back to that.
Yeah, touching on that, it's the same kind of thing. If Bunnings, if they want to sponsor a team, and they want to, if they want Corey Goldie in their team, then that's how it works these days. And back in the day, it was awesome that AFC were affiliated with ABT, and there was that awesome, roll up for the qualification process. But now that ABT's got nothing to do with AFC and them guys, it's a little bit sad. But look, all things moving forward, like it's not saying we can't get back to that, but
it's great how it is, and you've got to evolve with the times. I wonder why, you two got selected for Jack Links. Is it because you both like eating meat?
Bit of a jerker.
There we go. I had to throw that one in there. We got Calissa, a great supporter of the show, has asked, with your current AFC competition, how do you decide who drives the boat and who sits back and who thinks he can drive fast and get to the best fishing spots? Who gets the driver's seat? I noticed you were doing a lot of the driving, Mitch.
I don't think we actually discussed it. It just sort of, that's just how it happened. Like, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. We never discussed who was driving, so I think Matt was probably still asleep in the morning, so he sat in the car in the warm and he backed it into the water, so that's how it worked. But in the first year, Matt was driving, so yeah, honestly, we didn't even. Yeah.
It all kind of evens out anyway, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about who drives and which spot we go to. Me and Mitch have got like a set game plan of what we're going to do. So, we'll go out and have a pre-fish, and we both, whether I drive or Mitch drives, we both know exactly what we're going to do, unless we get cut off by someone. But we know what we're going to do. We've got a secondary plan, a backup plan, and we've got other plans after that. So,
look, to be honest, it was great to actually get footage of that. And I'm not picking on the other guys at all, because how many times has it happened in a comp? I mean, when you've got 60 or 70 boats in a field and they all fishing, they all end up somewhere near somebody else, and there's a race for the spot and whatnot. So it was actually good to see it. I thought it was great TV.
Oh, it was. It's all above board. There's no hard feelings as much as the as much as the Facebook banner shows it. It's all fun and games. The only disappointing part to that was during our practice, we actually done some test runs through the timber, and we were trying to find the quickest line to the river, and we done like 4 or 5 test runs through the timber, and we had a tree marked like where to hit to get that shortcut to send us into the channel to head us straight to the river. And the boys literally could not have picked a better time to cut us off, because right as they cut us off, and I swerved to the right to get around it, and just couldn't get back on. But it's all good fun, and we still like each other a bit.
Now, you guys are using the tracker boats, is that correct?
Yeah.
Are they both horsepower the same? They're both 150 Pro XSs?
Both 115 Pro XSs, but one's got a bigger pitch prop. So the boys actually did have the quicker boat. They had a 23, and I think we had a 22. We only found that out this year because we were wondering why they were a little bit quicker. But
yeah, I think that's an old Sly Sylvester trick, that one. Hey, listen, I've got to give away the postcode, and it's going to go to 2320 Paul Langley. So, Paul Langley, you're actually a prize donated by Ricky Doyle. So, you've got the McGrath Walker, Genetic Lewis, sponsored by Genetic Lewis, that one, and the Corey's Dam Fishing. So, Paul, you've won the postcode prize. Send us a message on my Facebook page to with your address for that one, so we can.
I'm guessing there's some good comments coming through. Looking at Langford's face, because I can't see any of the comments.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Some of them come up.
Look, I'm trying to work through them slowly. There is a lot there, but if I flow through too many, I miss a few. So, Peter Wright, another good supporter of the show. Hey, guys, do you think this type of format will become more popular as repetitive standard shows are getting tiresome?
I hope so. Yeah, I'd like to see some more competitive shows like this that actually see the tournament side of thing, and how guys even delve deeper into how guys prepare for it and what to do and that sort of thing, because I think it'll just grow tournament fishing as a whole if they do. But like Mitch was saying earlier, it comes down to dollars. It comes down to sponsorship dollars and who's willing to help pay for it and that sort of thing. But I've heard a few people in the last couple of weeks comment about some fishing shows, being the same thing. You're just seeing them catch fish. They don't explain the ins and outs of why they're doing it, and how come they're using a particular lure and what season it is and all that sort of stuff. I think I personally believe it would become more popular. But what do you reckon, Mitch?
Yeah, I think like you've said, I guess one thing with tournament fishing, doesn't matter how tough the fishing is, like you can't just pack up and go home. For the weekenders that rock up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 10 o'clock they haven't got a bite, and it's just like, oh well, let's just pack up and go home. I guess the best thing tournament fishing, and what we would like to showcase, is how we nut that out, how we push forward and find why they're not biting. There's always active fish somewhere. So I guess it'd be really cool to see a little bit more in depth, unlocking the secrets, I suppose, to how that happens. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, and I think Corey's Dam Fishing might have to come next year and do the behind the scenes stuff. I'll put me plug in there. So, Johnny, close mate, works up there in Kingaroy. Do you find it more like a production rather than a fishing comp? And if so, do you find it hard to adjust?
No, I think it's just. I guess the first year for us was a little bit intimidating, but realistically, we just sort of go through the motions of what we'd normally do, don't you think, mate?
Yeah. No, we didn't. We weren't overwhelmed, or it was. Well, did you find it more of a production? No, like we're trying to. We're just talking through what we're doing, I guess. So it's not that much different to what we usually do. I guess it's half the. You actually do forget about the camera, to be honest. When you sort of do get in that mode, your head's down, you're concentrating, and there's a few times there the cameraman's like, "Come on, boys, what are you doing here?" Like, we do sort of forget about it. So,
I guess
cameraman on both boats. Sorry, Matt. Cameraman on both boats. Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's another boat goes around and does a bit of long distance stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. It's just so the people know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much how it goes, but. I guess, like Mitch was saying before, we verbalise it more. We still fish and we're still executing our plan and that sort of stuff, but all we're doing is trying to verbalise exactly what we're doing and try and explain the reasoning behind it and that sort of stuff. So, I guess that way it's sort of letting the viewer know the reasoning behind what we're doing, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, let's go to another question here, Mark, who I'm taking away this weekend. We're going for a trout challenge. How do you guys prepare to fish somewhere new? So obviously you've gone up there the first year, not knowing much about sooties and not only doing a few barra trips in your social time. How do you get your head around that scenario? Matty, we'll start with you.
I guess research.
Break it down, mate. Break it down. Like you can say research. We're talking about it just before. Okay. Is it net-based? Is it going, tell us about it.
Yep. So obviously, if we'd never fished for sooties before, we'd had a little bit of barra experience, but not much. But I guess the biggest thing that we had to do was find out exactly where we were going. And then we had to break down the dams that we were fishing. So being two guys that never been up there before, we'd never, we were the underdogs. We had no clue. So we watched old AFC series that had been up there before. We jumped on YouTube and watched YouTube videos. Jumped on the internet and whatever you can drag out of that. And obviously fishing as a team, me and Mitch conversing all the time. So we talk to each other a lot. Messages, making sure that we've got the right gear, the right line types, the right lures, willing to try different things, and really trying to learn it, but also gain an advantage and try and get one up on the other team as well. So, and that's the other thing. You also got to know who you're fishing against as well. So it's always pretty handy to know your opponents as well. So, so a lot of research and a lot of time breaking everything down.
Yeah, and it was great to see on Saturday when I watched it that we've all been left hanging for the final episode, but they I know Liam talked about how the scoring they have to do in the scoring to win and what you guys have to do to win. So they've left it hanging. But Mitch, how would you break down a new waterway?
Yeah, practically what Matt just said. Social media these days is probably the best fisherman ever. So you've only got to log on there and, whether it's, fibs or not, the internet these days is ridiculous. Like you can jump back into the early 2000s and see that Harry Watson, won an event at Crestbrook throwing a squirrel. Like it's, you can almost pinpoint the area. And once you've fished like, the general, lakes that we do, Somerset, Boondooma, Glenbourne, Sinclair, all them sort of dams, you kind of get to know, like the narrows at Glenbourne, the arms up the rivers in St Clair, you know, where Kirkley and Bay 13 is, like you get to know the area. So when you can narrow it down to a little stretch and narrow it down to the lure that won it, the year before or the year before that, closer to that time when you're getting there, that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, social media has broken it all down. We used to get on there, and it was really hard to get that information out. They were a very tight-lipped bunch, and nothing ever got short. And I know that there was even guys on boats that when they caught a fish, they'd actually pull the lure out of the fish's mouth and pick up a different rod. So the co-boater was thinking they were throwing something different. I mean, that's how cheeky it used to be. And now with social media and what ABT are doing with live stream and whatnot, watching you throw that fluoro grub for the sooties, Matty, it stood out like dog's balls. And you're like, oh, Matty's throwing the fluoro again. So, it's you can't hide that anymore with the TV and what's going on.
That's right.
Listen, we've got a great question here from old ABT stalwart here, actually, Simon Goldsmith. He said he thinks there's an opportunity to shoot an AFC-style show that's purely online, similar format, production values to AFC, but would be, So basically he's saying that if we could do not a TV presentation of the AFC type scenario, but obviously it'd have to be called something different, but it'd be great to see somebody put that in there. And I'd love to see it moved around too. I know Mackay has put in mega dollars out of their tourism budget into it. I wish other regions had used their tourism dollars to get it to move around. I'd love to see an AFC come down here and do a cod yellow belly type thing instead of just focusing on the barra all the time. So Simon.
No, I think yeah. That's a great question, Simon, and I think what Steve's doing now with the ABT, I think that's that's leading straight down that path. So with the power of YouTube and that these days, most guys have got a YouTube account now, and it's pretty easy to go straight live to YouTube. So hopefully in the very near future we can go down that track, and I guess everyone's got to jump on board and do a little bit off their own back sort of thing, and not just have it handed to them on a platter and, do this, go here and all the rest of it. But I think there's definitely
scope. I do agree. Like ABT's motto of who shares wins. And I know there's some twos and fro's about the shared weight and all that, but we need to build this sport up and we need to get it back to what it was. And we need people wanting to fish tournaments. We need those numbers. We need all of that stuff, but we need to also put our money and our mouth there so people can learn to, do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think you've only got to look now at, especially with the ABT events, that, maybe 5 years ago you could go out and you could practically pick the top 10, or at least the top 5. It was the same sort of guys that were, knocking on the door at every event. They just seemed to be above. But as I said, with the social media stuff and with the who shares wins and the co-angler sort of stuff, everyone's brought up. And you go to a tournament now, and there's literally 5 blokes, 30 blokes who are just as good a chance as you to win that tournament. And that's why it's hard to try and stay ahead of the game. But I think that's all due to ABT and dragging it along.
Yeah, I agree totally. Just going through. Peter Wright wants to know if you're standing up or sitting down, Mitch. Sitting down, that would be it. All right, here's a good one from Bo, another great supporter of the show. Matty, how do you compare the comps in US, to Oz, to what you saw in the US when you stole Carl's boat? Give us a comparison.
Well, me and Mitch are both fished in the US in comp, so Mitch will be able to help answer this too. But the difference is obviously, number one, I think bass fishing in America is massive. It is just so big. I went to you fished in Hartwell too, didn't you, Mitch?
No, I fished Conroe.
Conroe, yeah, righto. But anyway, at Hartwell, I was on the water on the first day was on Saturday, and I've come from Queensland in Australia. You fish Lake Somerset, where there might be 3 or 4 other boats, on a weekday or a weekend and whatever else. But that same weekend when I started pre-fishing, there was a 250 boat college tournament on. There was also a weekend tournament on that had probably another 100 boats, and then there was rec fishermen plus myself. So I would have seen 500 bass boats on the water in one day, which is probably the amount of bass boats that are in the whole lot of Australia. But to answer that question, I guess the population and the way that they run their comps, they've got the facilities, they've got the money is the other big thing, and just the way that they do things. It's very streamlined. It's very well run. Don't get me wrong, our comps over here are well run, but we don't have the facilities. A lot of our dams are, I guess, away from most major centres, whereas their dams are on where major centres are. So. But I thought they were really professionally run. They take their fishing really super serious. Like Mitch was saying here, like we kind of take tournament fishing however we want to. We can be as professional as we want, or as laid back as we want. And there's 30 or 40 guys over here that are like that in brim, bass, and barra. And don't get me wrong, in cod and yellows and all that sort of stuff. But I think we just don't have the population. I'd love to see just tons and tons more people getting into it and doing it. So, yeah. What do you think, Mitch? What was your experience like?
Yeah, it's no comparison really.
Yeah.
Their midweek comps are 100 boats. The Wednesday night comp they'll get 100 boats just for a couple of hour session. So. There's sort of no comparison, but yeah, as you touched on, I think it's just the waterways. Like we just don't have the waterways to, to facilitate them big tournaments. Like you say, in the centre of town, sort of thing. You draw more exposure because it's right under your nose. You get guys crossing a bridge and there's guys fishing there, so you kick back and watch for a while. But yeah, it's a hobby for us and it's a lifestyle for them over there. I think it's just until you actually get over there and you see the size of some of them waterways. I know when I went over there, I fished one of the smallest lakes in Texas, and compared to, I think it was Glenbourne, I worked it out to be about 8,000 acres or something like that of water, and the lake that I fished in Texas was like the smallest lake in Texas, and it was like almost 60,000 acres. Like it's mind blowing, and like
And
you can literally not see land on some of them lakes.
Yeah, and popular. Yeah, you can get the curve of the earth on those lakes, higher points in the middle. But the population is, they have major cities around those waterways where Australia's population is coastal. That's why I've never understood why the brim side of things can't be as big. I know the bass side of things in America is huge, but in Australia, I would have thought the brim would have been able to grow to having Sydney harbours and Malakutas and all these bigger waterways that they can have massive fields on. I mean, that's what we're comparing it to, isn't it? Sydney Harbour to some of these friggin' waterways, isn't it?
Yeah, again, I think it's just the accessibility sort of thing. Like when you try and get 80 boats to somewhere on the coast in a small coastal town, trying to get 80 boats in a car park and then, in and out accommodation. Like we all love our camping, in the swag under the stars sort of thing. And that's one thing that, with the brim, I think, a lot of it's motels or, houses and that kind of stuff. So I think you run into a lot more dollars too when you're traveling from 5-6 hours away to get there. So.
And I think there's only one lake in Australia that I can think of off the top of my head, at least on the East Coast, is Mulwala, that has anything whatsoever in a decent town, houses right to the water, constant water levels. Everywhere else in Australia, the water levels can drop from 10% to 100% every year. And we have massive water drops where these areas over there seem to have, that constant water, don't they? Excellent. Next. Right. Here's a good question. Keegan the madman. Who do you reckon would win in a one-on-one, Langers versus Carl?
Me every day of the week.
You every day of the week.
Is this a fist fight or a fishing comp?
I don't know.
I'm on Carl both ways.
Yeah, this is the thing. We didn't specify. There's a lot of things I could beat Carl in.
Yeah, what marbles? So, just a bit of a
Quickest
G up there
haircut.
for you.
No. All due respect to Carl when it comes to fishing, that bloke just blows my mind every time I talk to him about it. You no one stand a chance.
I don't think I've ever seen a person. Carl just blows me away every time I listen to him on social media or anytime you see him in an interview. I watched a great interview he did with one of the Canadian clothing manufacturers a few weeks ago, and his message just doesn't change and hasn't changed since he got there to where he is now. He's the most determined bastard I've ever seen.
I tell you right now, Carl will not stop until he has a Bassmaster Classic trophy above his head, and he's done every single thing right in his career. You know, like he's level-headed. He makes really smart, wise decisions. He's a sponsor's dream. You know, like he just represents the sport perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Positive
he deserves
attitude.
all the recognition that he gets, like being a sports person from Australia. Like,
100%.
you know, we give Jared Hayne and all these guys, you know, a bit of a, you know, like they blow the media up when they're on the train-on squad for, you know, for the NFL, which is cool. But,
Yeah.
you know, especially us looking at what's happening over there and knowing how big that what they do over there in the fishing industry, what he's doing now, it's mind-blowing, and he doesn't get the respect that he deserves off, you know, the higher-end media in Australia.
100% agree. Yeah.
Totally. No, just phenomenal. But yeah, he could make a living just doing that speaking circuit. You know, when he finally retires from fishing, there is no doubt that he'll have the opportunity to become some sort of professional speaker because he's just so good at it.
Mm. Yeah, and like Mitch said, he's just purely focused on his goal, and he's really super motivated and positive. Carl will never say a bad word about anyone. You know, that's just the kind of guy he is, and he'll pick you up and place you right where you need to be to get on your own track as well. So, yeah, full credit to him.
Yeah. All right. Great question leading into that one. How do we get more Carls in the States?
Money. No, there's obviously some guys, like we all seen Dean do what he did last year, and you know, he went over there and gave it a red hot crack, and you know, I'm not saying that he's done doing what he's doing, but yeah, for anyone who speaks to Dean, the amount of money that it cost him to do it, you know, from back here going over there, just, you know, to and fro, you've literally got to do what Carl done, sell everything you own in Australia, pack up your life and move over there if you're serious. Like that's how it is. There's no doing it in halves. It's and to go over there and try and get a job to support what you're doing over there cuts into the time. Like you're giving away. That's one thing like that I noticed when I was over there is they talk about wind changes and, you know, ledge fishing and all that. To learn them fish in, you know, even 8 years that Carl's been over there is ridiculous because you're giving away a lifetime of experience. What them guys know, you know, when the water hits 63 degrees, they know that the bass are going to move up, or they've seen it all before, whereas Carl hasn't. So for someone like, you know, any one of us to go over there and do it now, it is a huge call, and yeah, hats off to them if they want to try. You know, you can only try and support them.
Look, I know there's a few guys in the process, and we're mucking around with Keegan before that want to get over there and do it. You know, Carl is really the exception to the rule. I suppose you really would have to be almost single to start with, you know, and have no ties to anything in Australia, have the determination that Carl's got. I mean, he went over there before it was cool and before it was hip and before anyone knew anything about it. So there hadn't been too many people that had gone over before him, and there was no social media. He went over with no sponsors, and a few little Australian companies backed him in and whatnot. And he had to come home for visa problems and go back. And most people would have given up before now for what Carl's had to do. So yeah, I think he is the exception to the rule.
Yeah. You've got to, you've just got to throw, everything at it. You can't go in half cocked.
Yeah. And as you said before, Matty, so like the comps here, I know I do it. If I'm going to Sinclair, I can't. I always have trouble as my hoodoo, so I'm going there for a fat time. If I get a top 20, I'm stoked. But I'm just going there for the time. You can't do that over there. It is all in or nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no mucking around.
Now let's talk about getting back onto the AFC. We've got another question here from Mark, which is a good one. When chasing Barra in the latest episode of AFC, what were your rigs? I know you're both in the Miller stable, but what were you throwing for the Barra up there for all the Barra guys out there watching?
There's one lure in particular really shone this year, and they don't make it anymore. There's offtakes of it about nowadays, but years ago, I hope Gretchy doesn't throttle me for saying this, but the bloody Stiffy Boney bring, or the Stiffy Boney, I think they're called, aren't they, Mitch?
Yeah, Stiffy Boney.
They just caught, they catch them, and I don't know why.
They're a terrible looking lure. They got a terrible action.
Yeah, they're horrible, but Barra loved them. Like we got onto them in the pre-fish, and then anyway, you'll see more next about it in the next episode. But it just really worked for us, and we threw jerk baits that we thought would be similar, but they just got a real erratic, weird, strange sort of body roll and movement to them.
Yeah, it's kind of like any fish, really. Sometimes they want a lure that sort of does nothing. Like, they've got just a side roll action. You sort of twitch and they just roll to their side, and then they practically float. But we were throwing them on a Miller Rods One Freak. That's part of his production line. 40-pound braid, 50 to 60-pound leader. And then the other one would be, we had the Beastbuster LM spin, had like a 4,000 size reel, same thing, 20, 30-pound braid and 60-pound leader, just throwing slick rigs rigged with a stinger. TT actually make a replacement hook for the slick rigs made, specifically for them, with a swivel that pops out underneath, and you can attach a stinger straight underneath it. So it takes the guesswork out for the idiots that don't like making little wire traces to go up with them. But that was pretty well our two-pronged attack, and we didn't want to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
What about let's delve in a little bit deeper and just not go to the Barra. What about the sooties? I mean, there's such a when you're fighting against the popularity of Barra, it's hard to say go and chase some sooties, but those sooties pull their weight. And what were you using for the sooties?
Not enough. The first one Langers hooked on our pre-fish in the first year. That's for sure.
Oh, I remember that. That blew my head off. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. We're in trouble here. We don't have big enough rods.
It's true. But there was a couple of scenarios, probably three scenarios. We mainly use spin because obviously we're trying to target a lot of shag trees and trees away from us, so we're trying to look for distance. But the three, obviously, me and Mitch both use Miller rods, but the Finesse Freak was really popular for throwing those light jig heads and the little fluoro grubs. That was a really big one. The Extra Finesse Long Cast, it's like that mid-range. We could throw nearly anything on it. And the one we also used for those fish that were in the trees was the Vibe Freak. It's got a stronger backbone. You can really put some hurt on fish. And I think the other big thing too that people don't realise or don't think enough about is your reel size or reel selection with spin rods. Like generally, we'll fish if we're fishing an open flat, we'll fish 1,000 size reel, fairly loose, reasonably loose drag. Like you know, you can not have to worry about getting fish caught in trees and that sort of stuff out in the flats. But when you're targeting trees, you know, we're using a bit stiffer rod where we've got reels with more torque, so we're getting a big spool size, so 2,500. You could even go bigger, and you're upgrading your line because you want to get line on that reel as quick as you can if you've got a sooty burying his head in some timber. And that's what we're doing. We're upgrading braid, upgrading leaders, getting more torque out of our reels to get fish out. Otherwise, those sooties are relentless. They just, as soon as they eat your lure, they're like a jack. They're sort of in and down straight in amongst the trees. Like Mitch was saying earlier, like we were sort of just going into it thinking like they were going to be like yellows, and I got a bite, and just we were both blown away with what they did. But yeah, I think this series, especially this year, you would have seen the episode. We fished pretty clean, and we had it pretty dialed into what we were doing. So yeah,
probably I think it was 10-pound braid that we were running, and 12 to 15-pound leader, I think, on
yeah,
the spin for the sooties. But yeah, initially they don't actually fight that hard once you draw them away from their structure. But
yeah,
where you're hooking them within, inches of a tree butt or or a line out like a overhanging branch or something. We'll target in the shadows, and when
yeah.
they eat and they've already got their nose heading back to home, they are, you've seen the girth and the width of their shoulders on some of them. So the hard part's turning them. Once you've turned them, they don't fight like a bass or anything. They just roll about.
Once you get them up into the top of their water column, you're saying, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're black. And like, sorry, just to finish it off, that's the cool thing about sooties too. Is like Mitch was saying, they're black because they sit in the shade, they sit under weed, they sit next to logs and stuff. They ambush. So yeah,
They're a
they're
mean looking fish, yeah.
Mm.
Now, we've got just a couple more. There's another AFC question. So, we read this one out. I'm getting the stutters up. Listen, if anyone's got any questions about AFC that they want to put forward to the guys that run AFC, I know Mitch and Matt can get those messages too. Make sure you put them through so we can talk about them. I love AFC, but I feel like it would be better viewing if there was crowds for the results at the end. What guys' thoughts?
Yeah, well, it probably would be, but same thing with the budget. We're on a timeline. We're on a strict timeline. As you can see by some of the post-match interviews, it was dark. So we literally fished. We've come back to do our interviews, and it's a big day. And trying to get to the reveal, and then getting set up for the very next day when you're chasing Barra, and then very tight schedule, just trying to get everything happening. But again, it would be awesome. The first year we actually did a little thing. Where'd we go to there? Into Mackay Harbour, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think
that was for the grand final.
for the grand final. The guys they sort of done there. We signed some Guernseys and that sort of stuff, and it was really cool. But again, timelines and budgets. It's you got to make do with what you can.
And a lot of the places we're at, same thing. There's no one there.
Yeah, that's Youngall is practically it'd be an hour and a half from Mackay, maybe more. So to your nearest big town, same thing. It's dragging it out.
But I reckon it would be cool if you did it in a major centre, because like Mitch said before, when we had the handing over the trophy last year, there was at times there was 50, 60 people there watching. So it would be better, but it is what it is, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, it all comes down to the almighty dollar. Listen, we're still looking to give away. I'm still looking for a really good question to give away this signed Jack Link's jersey. It's a small size, so it'll go well up on the bar room or in a frame or to a young kid. So keep the questions coming through. I've got one here from Warren that I'm going to actually nominate a prize for. So Warren has asked, when fishing for barra, what were you using to connect your leader to your lures, loop knots or clips?
Yeah, I'm a loop knot man. I've had some bad experiences with clips, and I've just never been able to go back. So yeah, loop knots for me, and an FG knot for braid to leader.
Yep. Ditto. So do you guys both tie your loop knots exactly the same, or you tie them differently?
I tie Matt's because he's terrible.
That's actually what come. We had a session at Sinclair. Was that my FG or was that the loop knot?
I think it was everything. I don't know. It wasn't good. It was my lures.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I didn't mind.
Don't worry, Mitch. Once upon a time, Matthew turned up to a comp with a DVD on how to tie leader knots and gave it to me and said, "Here, learn."
Oh, I did too.
Yeah. So Warren,
can I have that back so I can re-gift it?
Yeah. So Warren, you've got the 2 flutter spoons there, donated by Jimbo Jones at Nichols Lures. So you've got that one there. The Corey's Dam fishing sticker will go with that. So thanks for that question, and send it through your address to my Facebook page so I can get that prize out to you in the next couple of days.
Kane, we've been lucky that there's been
I can't see any of the comments. So is Liam online?
I don't know.
No, I haven't actually seen a comment from Liam. There was a couple from Tommy Slater earlier.
What's Tommy? I gave Tommy a bit of slack. What was one of his questions? I better answer one of them.
Jeez, I thought we'd get.
Oh, way back. I can't even find them there. No, they've been nice to you so far.
They've been really kind. Don't be scared, especially Mitch.
Yeah, give it to us. Come on.
A good question from Nick Brown. So another AFC one. Who is the one ex-AFC fisherman that you would love to have fished against?
Yeah, well, geez. That's a tough one. There's, Brim, Bass and Barra. It goes, obviously, if it was Bass, probably Carl. Barra back in the day, Jace Wilhelm had him pretty well dialed in. And I'd say with the Brim, probably Timmy Morgan back in the day, Tim the Brim. So
Tim the Brim, yeah.
Good choices. What about you, Matty?
Yeah, I'm thinking 1X. I'm going to go Carl's, I think, for Bass, 100%.
But you've done that, so pick somebody else. Give us another name. He's your cousin, so you've fished with him socially and whatnot.
Righto. I haven't fished. I've fished against a lot. There's 2 guys I haven't fished against. One's Harry Watson, and one's Jason Ehrlich. I know Jason. I know how smart he is. So I'd probably have to go for Jace.
Jason Ehrlich, good choice. Good choice.
Yeah. Harry had the stare back in the day. Harry had that grumpy little.
Harry's still grumpy though, so
I think if he looked at you across the boat, back in the day, he had a bit of an aura about him.
Yeah. What about Barra guys? You'd be because you fish with Jason as well, so we can't have you picking Jace.
I'd probably have to go. I'm going to say X, but still reasonably current, would be Craig Griffiths.
Griffo, yeah, yep.
I'd love to have a good fish off against Craig. He's like the Van Dam of Barra. So anyway, and then Brim would be slick, I reckon. Chris Wright. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I reckon you've both given some pretty good choices there.
Mm-hmm.
Just going through the questions while we're chatting about that. I should have been reading the questions while you were talking. I wasn't concentrating. I find it hard to listen and do it. Any hints on AFC going next year? Anyone And do you know where AFC's headed next year? Is it back up to Mackay?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah.
We know.
Well, you're not allowed to say.
We know what's happening next year, and it's we can't say too much, but it's going to be friggin'
It's going to be different.
totally
It's
different.
going to be there'll be some new arenas.
Yeah, it'll be.
We're
totally
whaler.
different.
We're fishing cod. I'm in. Right. Love
It'll
you.
be worth watching.
Yep. Is there any more? Give us a little sneak on without getting yourself. Let's like when you're in a Big Brother house or something like that. You can't give away too much details. We're not asking you to give away the winner, but have we got? It's going to be pretty cool, or what's the go? What?
It'll be cool.
Are you guys both
cool.
back in? Obviously.
No. It won't wholly and solely be in Queensland.
Excellent. It'd be good to see a couple back at St Clair or Glenbourne. I loved ABT releasing the old footage of stuff and watching, guys throwing spinnerbaits and jackals at Glenbourne that, nobody's doing anymore and catching donkeys. That was pretty cool. That was a good question.
Was a good one.
Jordan Tilley here has asked a question. Well, a personal opinion on motor guide electrics. Let's go with that one. You ran one for a few years, mate.
I'm excited for the new motor guide.
Oh,
I'm excited to see the new. Yeah.
Have you run one, Mitch?
I've never run one. I personally don't like the XI5 foot pedal sort of thing, so I was always steered away from that. And obviously, you're saying trouble out on AFC, but I reckon they've done some real cool stuff with the new one that they brought out at ICAST. So I'm itching to have a good look at that because I think it's going to be, it's going to be right there knocking on the door with the Ultrex and the Ghost. So excited.
Yeah. A few minor little differences. It is a true cable steer.
Yep.
Not a like the, I don't want to bag the other guys out, but it is a true cable steer. So it'll be a little bit different. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see a couple land in Australia. If Mercury out there looking for somebody to, I'll put one on my boat. So
I'll give an honest opinion of it because I've run motor guide. I had I can't remember what I had, but anyway, I went to a motor guide, and then I think it was Minco, the first one I had. But anyway, I went to a motor guide, and one thing that I noticed about it had the best spot lock ever because you didn't move. You just stayed there, and it didn't sway. If the wind was 35 km an hour, it'd still sit you still. That was a good thing about it. It was reasonably reliable, but in the time that I had mine, I think I had it for about 5 years. I did a GPS chip in it, and that was easy enough to replace those parts for it. The biggest thing was foot pedals. Those foot pedals. Until you find it. Well,
now let's go into the full detail. You would have gone through maybe 10 foot pedals, but 4 of them went over the back of the boat.
No, only one did, and I'm pretty sure I was with Mitchell.
You were with Mitch that day, and then you borrowed mine, and I never got it back.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
You sold that for cash.
Yeah, get that one.
Pretty sure I sold it too. So
yeah.
What are they worth? $20? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure it'll work out in the end.
Oh, jeez, I forgot about that. But yeah, I had like a 20-foot chain on it, so every time there was wind or chop, because the one that at St Clair went past Mitchell's head. Oh no, it bounced off the front, didn't it, and just sunk like a rock.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the other one I ended up putting a chain on it, and it'd come at you. If you left it loose, and it wouldn't hit you in the head, but you'd be scared there's a bit of chain on it. So.
Yeah, because I know you and I both used XI5, so it was easy from one boat to the other when we fished the teams, and I know you love to put the foot pedal around the boat and move it around the boat. How have you gone with the Garmin having to have it in the one spot? Has it been hard for you to adjust?
Well, the coolest thing about that, the Force, is you don't. You got a hand control, and you got a foot control, and it's wireless. It's the same as the motor guide. So I can just do the same thing. Like all weekend, I was down at the back of the boat with the foot pedal, just moving it around. So yeah.
No, sweet. Nigel's got a question here. On a serious note, Matty, where did you get your lucky Broncos fishing track pants from? And can they turn the season around?
Okay, as far as that's a good question. Me and Nigel always used to say about my lucky Broncos pants. I've got 2 pairs of them, and they're my lucky charms. As far as the actual team, I don't even want to mention their name, but the pants, they're good. The team, I don't talk about the team.
You got to support them in thick and thin, Matty.
How can you, but?
We've got Nicholas Bruni, one for you. Coney, advice on travelling the boat during a hailstorm?
Just send it.
You've had a couple of good episodes on your Facebook back in the day. You had that big storm at Somerset that ripped the camp apart. You had the camera out for that one. And then who was it? You and
me and MJ.
Yeah, you and MJ out in the boat when the hailstorm hit that day in the boat. So if you want to see some funny footage, it is on Mitch's Facebook page.
Yeah. Some smart advice would be if you see the storm coming, go and take shelter. But yeah, we didn't have me and MJ never had a full limit at that stage, so we were
I can tell you, on that day, we didn't have a limit either, and I'd come up from Victoria thinking that it was going to be nice and hot up in Queensland. I didn't bring any wet weather gear. Langers didn't have any spare. We were stuck out, and Langers is shit frightened of lightning. So I wanted to stay out Carson. He said, no, we're going ashore. And we went up to the Spit, didn't we? And we sat up in one of the shelters while the storm rolled through. So we were safe as sound, cold but safe. And then we seen that we were sitting there watching the video of you on there doing it. It was quite funny.
Yeah, another funny one. We'll throw MJ under the bus again because you boys actually witnessed me and MJ struggling for like 5 hours to catch fish, and then we had a double hookup to fill our limit, and one was an upgrade, but MJ decided to throw 2 back overboard, so we went from 3 to 5 and then back to 3 real quick.
Oh, I can't believe he is a police officer.
That was culling extraordinaire, that one. MJ, yeah, that was nearly probably one of the worst culling mistakes I've seen, apart from 40s last year in the grand final when he culled about 7.
Credit, he actually stood up, and on the next cast he caught like a 1.3, which was bigger than anything he threw away. So he saved his skin, but yeah, we're not going to let him forget about that one in a hurry.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.
That was funny. All right, we got a question from Mark Atkins here. What's the best time to target grunters?
We're sort of not really dialed in on the the whole sort of cycle of the sooties, I guess you could say. But each time we've been there, it's kind of been springtime, and yeah, obviously springtime for us seems to be an unreal sort of time to catch them, but not 100% sure, mate, on how they fish through winter and summer and that sort of stuff. But September, October, November, yeah, I reckon that's a pretty good time to chase them.
Yep, excellent. All right. Zach Conn, I think it is. What fish would you like to see in AFC and why? So have you said we're going? This is a personal view. It doesn't have anything to do with all of what we've been talking about next year. We've seen AFC there for there was saltwater barra could be a thing. It could be let's go to Papua New Guinea, chase black bass. No. What fish would you like to see in AFC? Matty, you go first.
AFC. Imagine headlines. I like yours. AFC black bass. They would be good. But no, I think Nile perch would be good too, but now we're fantasizing a bit there. I don't know. Yeah, there's some good ones. What other
Florida tarpon?
Yeah. What other iconic Australian species haven't they targeted before? So
the thing, see, cod would be a good one, but we all know as cod fishermen, you can go a whole day, and if you get a bite, it's been a good day. So I guess when you're trying to make a TV series, you sort of need a bit of action. So Murray cod would be good. Again, I'd like to get it back to the three species, brim, bass, and barra. But hey, maybe even the old mud marlin and the old carp. That opens up some options. So.
Hey, we go all right at that too.
We had some fun at Ngambie chasing the old mud marlin, so I'm sure we could make some exciting stuff out of that.
Yeah, corn, wasn't it? You were baiting with corn.
Oh, it had to be double sweet.
Had to be double sweet corn, mate.
Yeah,
it wasn't sweet.
Yeah, they didn't like sweet corn. It was double sweet or nothing.
AFC.
Heard it here first.
All right. Stuart Kenny, must be a theme, Mitch. Still remember that comp we fished at Sinclair when the clown which blew up like buggery. We had to retrieve the boat. What was the story behind that one?
Me and Stewie Kenny, we fished a teams event at Lake Sinclair. Christ, that would have been back in 2009, maybe. I'm not too sure. 9, 10, maybe. It just rained solid. It was a bets comp. It rained solid the whole weekend. Everything was just drenched. It blew its ass off. I went up to get the car, and I had the little clown attack tinny back in the day, and Stu's trying to back off the bank and try and get it onto the trailer, nearly sinking it, and I think we had about 4 bites the whole weekend and snuck into the top 10. So it was a miserable weekend.
But you get them, as you said before, like with that whole AFC's for TV, so you've got to catch fish. It'd be very hard to do cod. I'd actually like to see yellow belly going to a dam like Windermere or something like that, where you can catch big numbers of big fish if you go there at the right time. That'd be pretty cool. What time of the year do you normally film? Spring, is it, for AFC?
Yeah, springtime usually. Yep.
That's pretty cool. That's the time to go to Windermere.
It's different for each species you fish, though, obviously. So
yeah.
Try and find the best bite times and.
You do like AFC trout.
Trout. Oh, no trolling. Fly.
Oh.
We're talking about trout. I am going trout fishing this weekend for the first time in probably 25 years. Seriously, my son and I went away last year and we went to the trout farm. That was easy to catch fish. So we're going up to Dartmouth. The challenge with Mark is we have to catch one trolling, we have to catch one casting, and we have to catch one on fly. Now, I think I've got the first two. Yeah, I've got the first two down pat, but this I don't fly fish and never have, so I think I'm in a bit of trouble for this challenge. What have you got planned for our challenge when we come to Queensland, Matty? Have you thought about it?
I'll probably go a species challenge, I think.
Yeah, do a multiple species challenge.
Yep.
What are you doing? Sleepy cod, bony brim, and what?
Gudgeon. No, but yeah, I reckon like bass. Just really see the dynamics of our freshwater dams. Like do bass, yellows, toga, silvers, and that's probably about all.
Yeah. Mitch, when we eventually get up that way and do a bit of a challenge around your neck of the woods, we should do something a bit different rather than just the lakes. What have you got in the rivers up there that we could chase a mud marlin or something like that?
Yeah, we might kick the whole AFC mud marlin stuff off and go and try and I know it's lake fishing, but there are some absolute behemoth carp getting around in some of the lakes at the moment, and I reckon the meter carp might be a good challenge.
Big challenge, excellent. I'm going to be pretty busy this year, so I'm looking forward to it. I've still got to get back to Glenn Casey and Rod McKenzie. We are doing the cod challenge. We've been they want Langers to come down, but I think you're already looking at doing 2 trips if Ngambie comes off and whatnot next year. So might have to call a ring in for that one. So let's go. Mitch is in. Definitely post footage. Here we go. Then another good question. Are you guys superstitious in any way? I know Langers is.
Don't talk to him till he's had his morning pop and coffee.
Yeah. He's got that lucky net. He's got the lucky pants. He's got the lucky hat. What else have you got that's lucky in that boat? You got any lucky charms?
I always used to wear red undies. I don't know. I think the first tournament I ever won, I had red undies on, so I always used to try and wear red undies during a tournament. But I don't really read too much into it, to be honest.
That was my actual, when I was in my playing days of playing footy. I had to wear the red undies. That was my thing. I don't know where it ever come from.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Nick Brown.
Do you still do the red undie thing or not?
Not anymore. I don't wear undies anymore.
Worked since 2017, but
all right. There's an ABT question. Switching to ABT, what would you guys like to see for the rest of the 2020 schedule? Exactly the same format, location, or double headers, new locations, more rivers? What do you reckon you'd like to see in ABT?
That's it's a good question. I honestly haven't given it too much thought, to be honest. Just been pretty busy, but as long as we get to do something, I'm happy. You know, get the Open. Everyone loves the Open. The Open format, the 5 fish limit, boater only sort of thing. Again, still like the the co's and the pros thing with the shared weight, but. Somerset in August, it's always a draw card, although it is Somerset on a weekend. Maybe a midweek comp at Somerset, because they seem to bite up there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday really good. And so maybe a midweek. Steve, if you're listening, midweek Somerset.
Midweek. Didn't they used to do mega bucks midweek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to buy them too.
Yeah. Megabucks was one of those I'd love to see back. It was cool. It was always held leading up to or just after the grand final.
I think as long as we can just get back to the schedule, whether he changes it or not. I know a lot of guys have scheduled, including myself, obviously scheduled other stuff around these tournaments, but I haven't removed any tournament dates because of what's been happening. So it'd be just nice to get back to the schedule, wherever it is, and go fishing again. Be good.
I mean, we've only officially missed so far Glenbourne and River, one of the River rounds, wasn't it? Clarence. So I know Kane is supposed to be on this weekend.
Yeah.
So we could still pick up Wivenhoe, Somerset, and maybe squeeze one in, somewhere in between that. So that's interesting. I don't think we need double headers. Matty, what was the worst? What was the worst thing fishing with Corey? We know that I didn't used to trim my tags down and the knots that used to drive you insane. Bo wants to.
Remember, one day you picked a lure up, and this is going back to the tag. This is not the thing that used to piss me off though. But one day you picked a lure up, and on the eyelet there was 5 tags hanging off it. You didn't trim any of the tags off. You just tied another one on. It looked like it had whiskers. There was that many tags coming off it.
It was my trick.
There was a couple of things. One was to do with boogers, and the other one, this is what he'd do all the time. And Coney friggin' does it too. So you'd be there fishing. There's so many things that both of you bullheads do. One is tap the rod butt. That was another one. But then both of you have done it to me as well. You get a hand, like you'd be fishing, and then you just wrap your hand around the braid and then all of a sudden just pull it out real quick so your reel just sizzles for a bit, and you're like, oh, and you just about snap your neck looking around at it.
It's always fun in the boat.
I got Langford an absolute beauty on our first year at AFC.
Oh, at Teambra, eh?
That was the one that they put out on the ad for a better one.
57 times better than that.
Yeah.
I had him. He was a starfish on the front deck. He thought he was going to have a heart attack.
I was going to have a heart attack, eh?
Yeah.
So there we go. We'll get rid of that question. We've got one here from a guy by the name of Aaron Harding. We all really like your jacket. It matches your hair. Well, Aaron, I think from looking at that profile picture, you've got the biggest head I've ever seen. So, I'd keep your comments in. That's a bit of a G up there, Aaron. Don't hold it against me.
He's got an extremely large head, that bloke.
I can't wait to see this bloke's head, apparently.
Tracy here. What comps have been more stressful, the ones in America or AFC?
Again, just going back to the, not taking two things seriously, taking it for what it is sort of thing. I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of the same when I went to America. I had no expectations. I just wanted to catch fish. It didn't. Well, I did catch, but not legal. So it was just taking the experience for what it is. You can't be serious if you think you're going to go over there and win the comp and lift the boat, make the Bassmaster Classic sort of thing. So, although Langford nearly did, but just take it for what it is. Take it for an experience and just enjoy yourself. And things seem to roll. You put added pressure on yourself, and you start fishing quicker. You don't. You're not doing what you think you're doing. And that just overthinking it makes everything a lot worse.
You got to travel with somebody else. Travel with Cobalt, or somebody went at the same time you went, didn't you, Mitch?
Yeah, I had Gary Harmon come with me.
Yeah.
So we had a good time. It was Diamond Dave from the other week. He come over too, doing a bit of media sort of stuff. So same sort of thing. It was a little bit of a tour. Don't get me wrong, we took it seriously, and didn't go over there for nothing. But like I said, the scale of everything over there until you actually get there, rock up, you see the massive yards and all that sort of stuff. It's it's overwhelming and it's daunting, but like I say, you just take it for what it is and go about your business.
Yep. Yeah. All right, we've got a question here from Calissa again. She's a massive believer in old school fishing. Would you ever turn off your boat sounders and chase fish without technology and dams, etc.?
A lot of times it's different for each situation there, because in like Lake St. Clair, when you're fishing weed beds and that kind of stuff, 90% of the time your sounders are blacked out anyway, because you're fishing so shallow. Your boat's in 5-6 feet of water, so your sounder doesn't really help you. But the way sounders are these days, Humminbird, Garmin, like leaps and bounds above everyone. Having them sounders, even seeing what the yellow belly boys are doing, you can't. It's the best tool on your boat, and when you know how to understand it and when you can utilise it properly, you couldn't do without it.
Yeah. Well, going back, that is a good question, because I remember even fishing when I started fishing Bass-Tastics years ago with my nephew. There'd be days where we'd go, I wonder if the sounder ping's turn these fish off, and we'd turn it off for an hour and just see if it worked. But yeah, like Mitch just said, with the technology nowadays where you're watching bait move, you're following a bait school around, or you're trying to keep an eye on when those fish are flaring up, or some of the stuff they're doing with the cod at the moment with the live scope is just, if you turn it off, you wouldn't know what's there. So good question. I believe in old school values too, with certain things like noise and that sort of thing too, but not nowadays with the technology. It's just you can nearly tell exactly to the second when you're going to get a bite nearly.
It was awesome talking to Joshy Kopp last week, and talking about real retrieves and what he's learnt since having the live scope, and where he thought the pause was the better thing. It was actually the faster retrieve that got the strike, and watching those big fish come out of the tree. So yeah, it's insane what is out there. But I mean, you've gone full level, Matty. I mean, I can remember in the early days standing on your boat and thinking, why you even have a front sounder? I mean, the cover never come off the front sounder for a whole season, I don't think. And then you slowly, upgraded everything over time. And then once you got the Garmin, it was like, bang, you got sounders everywhere and electronics everywhere, and you're using them and whatnot. So, yeah, you did fish old school for a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. What's Bo's got? What was your biggest heartbreaking moment you had in the AFC, and what was the best moment you've had?
Jeez, it's hard to answer that. You'll have
to. I just thought of that. I mean, it could be exactly both of those answers could be next week on the show. So
that's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah, you'll have to watch next week's show. I think I'll bring that question off there. We won't answer that.
Great question, but
very, very good question. Any questions that stood out for you guys so far that we brought up on the screen for the winner of the signed jersey, or are we still going to try and get some more questions in? What's the time now?
I'm sort of blind. I can only see the ones you're putting up. I'm going to leave it up to you blokes.
Matty, anything stood out for you so far? Are we going to ask for another round of questions to try and win that?
Ricky Gowd's got a good one.
Yep.
What do you guys fish?
There we go.
I like that one.
That one there. Why do you guys fish, and what is it about fishing that makes you guys want to succeed in the sport? Start with you, Mitch.
Oh, that is a good question. I just love it. Like, I just love the sport. It's not even about tournament fishing, it's just fishing in general. I could do it every day. Obviously, when you want to succeed in the sport, I guess when you get to the point in them bigger tournaments like grand finals or AOYs and that, and when you actually get to lift that trophy above your head, and I was the best, over the whole year with AOY, or I was the best guy, in that grand final in that moment, and all that work that you put in, it's big money to do our sport, practice, boat fuel, and all that. So to put it all on the line and then to get what you actually aim for, it's a pretty cool feeling. And once you've had that feeling, it is and I've had the conversation with Matty before. Even I think you've actually got to lose big tournaments to be able to win big tournaments. I think just same thing, going through them emotions of losing and then winning, it just makes winning that much better. So I fish because I love it, and I'm not going to stop. And to be successful in the sport, I think when you've had that moment of a big grand final win, championship win, or stuff like that, you know why.
Yeah,
Matty.
Yeah, I totally agree with Mitch too. I think the biggest thing, I got shown. I grew up with Dad fishing, so he sort of set the precedent for me too. But I've been around a lot of guys that have shown me, what you can do with fishing and where you can take it. Carl's always got a good saying too, and I totally agree with it as well. As someone told him years ago that you'd never be anybody just doing something that you like doing. Like whether you're a fisherman, whether you're a hairdresser or a makeup artist or whatever, you can make it however you want to take it. So if you put enough hard work into it, you can take fishing to any level. So you can be as relaxed about it and do it recreationally with your mates and a few beers. That's great. That's fantastic. That's what fishing's all about. But then you can take it to a professional level where you're competing internationally. So that's that's why I love fishing, because you can make it into your livelihood. You can make it part of who you are, and make a living out of it. And you know, just hard work and determination. Like Mitch said, we love it so much that we're constantly thinking about it, planning, researching, getting ready for whatever's coming next. And um, you know, we've spoken about it, Perry's about it multiple times. Like, you can take it anywhere you want and do whatever you want with it if you've got a passion for it. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. But I think passion is the biggest thing. We're just passionate about fishing.
I think, yeah, both of you guys are extremely passionate about your fishing. I mean, there's been so many guys that have gone out there and won an AOY and then found out that, you know, there's still hard work to be done, and they've left the sport, or, you know, it's they've done it, so we're done. The guys with the passion and the drive of those guys that stick around for a long period of time, and both of you guys are in that sort of ballpark.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll just keep coming back over and over and over and over again.
All right. So one from Mark Atkins here. What made the old clown attack move from AYC to Bass?
I don't really know, to be honest. I guess because I moved down towards Willow Tree at the time, and I used to love the yellow belly comps. I still would like to get back and do more. Just unfortunately they clash a lot of the times, but yeah, I guess just going down, it was just different for me. I guess with the yellows, it was sort of more. I don't want to take anything away from them either, but like, up and down trees and that kind of stuff. Whereas the bass, I just found more, top waters, jerk baits, reaction spinner baits. I just sort of, it was a bit more diverse kind of thing. And once I got hooked on that, it was hard to go back. But the guys, what they're doing with the yellow belly at the moment, with them lives and in the trees and that, like, some of them guys are absolute freaks. So good question. Thanks, Mark.
Excellent. Let's go. Paul Langley here. Why do you think bass is shared weight but brim isn't? Is it because brim tournament anglers are better anglers or don't need any of the help? Are you a fan of the shared weight?
Honestly, I understand shared weight. I understand that, it's all about teamwork on the day and trying to teach your co-angler as much as you can. And I'm all for that. I love the educational side of things and working as a team. But I'd also love just to have, like the opens, two biggest fish, over 3 sessions or however it runs. But whoever catches the biggest fish or the biggest bagment for the weekend by themselves, I think that's a true testament to getting into it. But yeah, there's pros and cons of both. So I'm a fence sitter, but if I had my choice, I'd have to go back to old school. Your two biggest fish, 2 divisions. I'd love to see that come back. But yeah, like I said, I understand them both.
Do you sorry to cut in there, Mitch, I'll get your answer in a second. Do you think, Matty, that that's why Bass-tastic was quite successful for a few years there, where you fished like a team, but you actually fished as individuals?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think it comes in ebbs and flows with, I guess, with Bass-tastic, but you can fish with a mate and you're against each other. So realistically, you're helping each other to try and catch your biggest fish. So that's always going to be popular. But yeah, that's where I think it works really well, especially with Bass-tastic, and also it's a bit more laid back. Sort of, you're not fishing for huge amounts of money and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose where I'm sort of leading in is if you're looking at something that will teach people and share, but not having to share your weight, that scenario instead of the ability, blah, 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 might be a way it could go in the future. Mitch, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, a bit the same as Matt. We love that open format, your best 5 over the day. And, I think Bass took a bit of a hit there, whereas Brim sort of kept going through. Their numbers sort of didn't diminish, or they just had that gentle flow there a few years ago, whereas the Bass kind of dropped right off.
Yeah.
So I think it was ABT's way of just trying to rebuild numbers. And if you look at numbers from last year in the ABT, 70 boat fields, like we haven't seen them numbers in a long time. So for them to do what they've done and to drag the numbers back up, get everyone back interested in the bass. Now that everyone's sort of, obviously the COVID thing didn't help, but to get the numbers back into the sport and back into the bass scene, I wouldn't be surprised if the next year or so we go back to the old format. And,
yeah.
I think do the Brim guys still do the shared weight for the grand final too?
Oh, I don't know. I've never done a Brim comp, so I couldn't actually tell you. If somebody is on there that knows the answer to that, whack it in the comments.
Yeah.
Listen, Jordan Tilley's put one up here. Have you guys ever thought about doing a TV show?
Oh man, we'd love to. If we could.
I mean, obviously, that's the direction that I've always wanted to head, and would love to do a bit more, but it's all budget orientated. Everyone's
that's right. If there's anyone out there who wants to throw us 100 G's, and we'll travel around Australia and whatever you want to see. But
we'll do whatever you want.
Paul Langley said, "Yeah, shared weight for the grand final." So there you go.
Yeah.
Another one here I don't know the answer to. Peter Wright's asking, is Bass Nation coming back? There must be some rumours floating around up in Queensland somewhere. You haven't heard anything, you guys?
I haven't heard anything. No, not too sure on that one.
As far as I know, there's a possibility of someone taking it over, but finding that person.
Finding the right person, yeah. And I think ABT's doing a sterling job anyway, so we'll just leave that question alone. We don't want to get too political and stir up too much. Just going through. I think the questions are slowly slowing up. So, Matty, what do you reckon that Ricky Goward question for the Guernsey?
I reckon.
Yep. So,
Ricky.
Good job, Ricky. So you get the it's a Jack Links shirt, isn't it, Mitch?
Yep. Yeah, Jack Links shirt. Jump over to one of our Facebooks or something and just send us a PM, and I think I'll be catching up with Maddie in a couple of weeks, so we'll get it signed off, and we'll get it sent out to you. We'll send Corey your PO and address, whatever, and we'll work on getting it sent out to you.
Awesome. So that'll take you a couple of weeks to get that one out as well. So listen, guys, we've been going for an hour and a half now. Anything you guys would like to say or talk about at the moment?
No, I thought for me, I think it's good. Oh God, that's a wig. I think the biggest thing is, with the time remaining, if you do have any questions you want answered, just ask them. I think the other thing too is, with myself and Mitch, we're also really approachable too. So, even after the show, send myself or Mitch any questions you got, or Corey obviously as well.
Really. Even for the guys watching at home tomorrow, if they're not watching now, they want to watch the Corey's going to throw it up on Facebook if you want to have a look tomorrow, and just tag us in your comments, and happy to help wherever we can.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask, because we've got time to, we might not get back to you straight away, but just let us know if you got questions. Just don't hesitate to ask.
I think the main thing is, back in the day, it was a different breed. It was different everything. The fishing was different, a whole lot. But now with technology and everything else, you guys are much more accessible to the public. I know that I get questions all the time. We put them through. They go through. You guys are so welcoming to take that information and give people answers. People get scared. They go, "Oh, that's Matty Langford. He's a TV star. Or that's Mitch Cone. He's AFC star. He's won grand finals. He won't talk to me." Just don't expect an answer, but don't be that guy or that girl that asks, what rod, what line, what reel, what no, and just put all this what in the one sentence. Ask a legitimate question and you get a legitimate answer, I think.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, we were in the same boat, obviously. We had to learn. We didn't just sort of, there's years and years of hard work and guidance from other guys that have helped us too, like Phelpsy and Clancy and, Carl, all the guys. Oh, I missed that. What was it?
Oh, sorry.
Put it back up so you can see it.
Hey, flat out. Rubbish. Shouldn't you be doing something? Where's that other? Have you got that other photo? Just so everyone knows who Mick is now.
Oh yeah, we'll bring Mick back up. So Mick just asked that last question. This is Mick here. So
you haven't got any photos of Langers, have you?
No, I didn't tee Langers up. I thought I gave him a hard enough time because Langers was my guest on episode 1 and I had videos and we had a whole heap of hanging shit on Langers. So I thought I'd go easy on him this time.
Keegan said something about my haircut being more aerodynamic in the boat or something.
Yeah, those questions, well, like, as I said, I can only keep about 20 or 40 questions and then they drop off.
Mick reckons that photo's photoshopped.
Of him?
Just because he's got a bad head, he's trying to defend himself. Monobrow.
There you go. So Mark Atkins is going to get in contact with you guys to try and find out what the right Miller rods are for him. So that's exactly the type of question we love to answer. Be specific, get it in there, and we'll give you as much information as what we can. I don't know. It took me years to learn rods and reels and all that sort of thing. So if we can give anyone a heads up with what Miller rod to use, you guys are the guy. You've been both using them for years.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Yeah, hit us up with a message and, happy to help.
Right, going back through the questions.
My battery's probably going to drop out here soon.
No, that's all right. I think we're just about done. I've got no last sort of questions coming through. It's all been a bit of banter. So, guys, I won't keep everyone. My son's got to get to school tomorrow. It's his first day back at school tomorrow, and he'll be on there. So, listen, thank you guys for being on tonight. It's been wonderful. Next week, I've got Joey Allen from Frogley's on Shore coming on, and Jono Big Sump Austin. So we've got a heap to cover next week. I'm looking forward. I haven't caught up with Joe for a little while now, and Jono and I catch up every year at the Freshwater Masters. So listen, it's been great having you guys on. It's always great to chat. The challenges will be set throughout the year, but I'll get you guys back on and rotate everyone through again and get everyone back on. So thanks for your time tonight. It will cut out here and just log back in and I'll pick you back up if you're on your phones. And I will load this onto my YouTube page tomorrow, and that will allow people to go on and as Mitch said, ask some more questions. So thanks, guys. Let's call it a night, and we're out for now.